In this video, we are going to discuss the action of metals with water. In our previous video, we have studied general information about the action of water with active metals and less active metals, and in this video, we are going to discuss in detail the action of water with metals. That is the chemical properties of water, the chemical property of water, the reaction of water with metals. Metals have been divided into two different categories. The first category is active metals such as sodium, potassium and calcium. And the second category is the less active metal, that is magnesium, aluminium, zinc and iron. And third sort of category are the metals which don't even react with water. Metals like sodium, potassium and calcium, which are very active, they can react even with cold water. The less active metals such as magnesium, aluminium, zinc and iron, they don't react with cold water, rather they react with hot water or steam, as the reaction with cold water does not proceed. Now let's discuss the action of sodium or potassium with water. Whenever a small piece of sodium or potassium is dropped into the trough of cold water, it reacts violently. And during the reaction, the sodium and potassium reacts with cold water to form its respective hydroxides. In case of sodium, it will form sodium hydroxide along with hydrogen. In case of reaction with potassium, it will form potassium hydroxide along with the gas known as hydrogen. Now let's see what happens when sodium or potassium is dropped in the trough of water. As we know that sodium and potassium can even react with cold water, and in the trough, if we are taking water which is cold and the piece of sodium or potassium is dropped into it, potassium and sodium both forms silvery balls after melting. Whenever sodium and potassium comes in contact with cold water, it melts and then later on forms silvery balls. These silvery balls which are formed, they float on the surface of water. The silvery balls dart about the surface of water in the haphazard manner. This means the silvery balls which are formed, they jump on the surface of water and the direction of their darting or jumping is not specific. They can move in any direction. Movement in any direction is known as haphazard manner. And when the silvery ball darts on the surface, it also gives off tiny bubbles of hydrogen gas. These silvery balls, they gradually reduce in size. They become smaller. And as they become smaller, the pieces which of sodium and potassium were dropped in the cold water, they both catch fire. If potassium burns in the water, it burns with the lilac flame. And if sodium burns in water, it burns with the yellow flame. This means when potassium is dropped in water, after melting and the formation of silvery balls which are darting on the surface of the water, after reducing its size, it burns with the lilac flame. And if sodium is dropped instead of potassium, then yellow flame is seen instead of lilac flame. These silvery balls which were formed in both the cases, they finally disappear after burning. And if we finally touch the water in which the sodium and potassium was dropped, that water gives the soapy texture, it is soapy to touch, and that water becomes slightly warm also. If we test This water in which potassium and sodium was dropped, with the help of red litmus paper, we will see that the red litmus paper turns into blue. This proves that the water in which sodium and potassium were dropped, it has become alkaline in nature. That is the reason it is changing the red color litmus paper into blue color. So these are the observations that we observe when sodium or potassium is dropped in water, that is cold water. Now there are certain precautions which you have to keep in mind while performing the experiments, and the first precaution is that always use a sharp knife to cut a small piece of sodium and potassium, and always pick up the piece of the sodium or potassium with the help of fire tongue or with the help of forceps. Never ever touch the sodium or potassium with the bare hand, as sodium and potassium both can cause painful burns on touching. Therefore, it is necessary to pick it to pick the pieces of sodium and potassium with the help of fire tongue or forceps. As we have discussed that when a piece of potassium and sodium is dropped in cold water, the reaction takes place violently and respective hydroxides are formed, means sodium hydroxide plus hydrogen is formed when sodium is dropped in it in the cold water. Potassium hydroxide and hydrogen is formed when potassium is dropped in the cold water. The hydrogen gas formed in this manner can't be collected because the reaction is very much violent. Means sodium and potassium, these both metals react violently with cold water, hence the collection of hydrogen gas is not possible. Now, what should we do if we want to collect the gas with the reaction of sodium with cold water or potassium with cold water? The problem for the collection can be overcome by dissolving the metals sodium and potassium in mercury, so as when they are dissolved in mercury, they form the amalgams. When sodium is dissolved in mercury, it forms sodium amalgam. When potassium is dissolved in mercury, it forms potassium amalgam. And these amalgams are not so much reactive as bare sodium and bare potassium. If we want to collect the hydrogen gas from the sodium and potassium, we should take 50 gram of mercury in the pestle and mortar, and we should add near about 5 grams of freshly cut piece of sodium. We should mix them together and we should grind the sodium which is mixed in mercury till they dissolve and form sodium amalgam. In this point, we have discussed that the mercury, which is 50 grams, should be mixed with sodium, which is 5 gram. They should be mixed thoroughly and they should be grinded so that they can mix more thoroughly and form sodium amalgam. When sodium amalgam is formed by grinding, then we can transfer the sodium amalgam to a small crucible. When this small crucible is taken, now take a trough of water, and in that trough of water place a cylinder which is completely filled with water in the inverted position such that the water does not flows out of the cylinder. Let me show you with the help of the diagram. Here you can see that a trough is taken which is filled with water, which is represented in the red box. Here a gas jar is taken which is filled with water, and it is kept inverted in the trough which is already containing water. Now, by tilting this flask, we will introduce the sodium amalgam in the gas jar. When the sodium amalgam is introduced, into the gas jar, that sodium amalgam reacts with water in the gas jar, and the small bubbles of hydrogen gas are formed. These bubbles moves in the upward direction, and the gas jar gets filled with the hydrogen gas. Let's repeat with the help of the wordings in the book that by tilting the cylinder, we have to introduce sodium amalgam, which is in the small crucible, and the sodium amalgam will react with cold water at the moderate rate, and the bubbles of hydrogen gas are produced, and that hydrogen gas can be filled up in the gas jar by the downward displacement of water. Hence, we can collect hydrogen gas by preparing the amalgam of sodium or potassium. Directly, we can't collect the hydrogen gas by the reaction of sodium with cold water or potassium with cold water, as the reaction is very much violent. That's all in this video.